So we know back in 2023, 2024 era, that was a time where we knew we was going to lose two of the big three when it comes to American muscle car, right? So we know the Challenger got discontinued as well as the Charger got discontinued. Well, the Charger really didn't get discontinued. It just came back in a new electric form. And we know the Camaro got cut as well. The Ford Mustang throughout this whole time has been running strong for I think like 60 years or something like that, right? Dodge, even though they cut their normal Chargers and Challengers, they have the Charger coming back in a gas-powered form later on this year. There's also been reports that they could be coming back with the V8 sometime in the near future. But what is going on with the Camaro? Ever since that car's been cut, there haven't been much talk about the Camaro at all. Chevy's been going completely bonkers with the Corvette. Just because we haven't heard a lot about the Camaro doesn't mean there's something in the works with the Camaro. And we're not talking about a crossover. Is the Chevy Camaro actually going to make a return to complete the big three here? Let's hop into the video and talk about it. Being part of the car community is a wonderful feeling, but unfortunately, if you own any sort of Mopar, Camaro, or maybe even a Corvette, you may have to keep your eyes on your car a little bit more due to the increasing theft rates of these vehicles. No matter what mod you may install on your car, make sure one of your first things that you install on your car is CarLock. This is the world's best GPS tracker and alert system. With CarLock, you will be able to live track your car via GPS directly from your phone, as well as get alerts sent to your phone for any kind of activity that may be going on to your car, such as your engine starting when it should not be starting, or your car moving when it should not be moving. And if there's a power loss that the CarLock will detect, it will give you an alert for that as well. Make sure you protect yourself with CarLock by going to the link in the description below and using these codes here to get yourself a 10% discount as well as a 14-day free trial for your CarLock. You deserve that peace of mind. Let's go ahead and get into the video. You see the title and you see the thumbnail, so we know what's going on with the big three cars for the most part, right? We know what Dodge is doing. They cut their Challenger. They're pretty much focused on the Charger in both the EV form and soon to be gas powered new Dodge Charger that is coming out later this year. We know Ford has not cut back on the Mustang at all, as they still have their new redesigned 2024 Mustang S650, which is like I said, came out in 2024, still active today with that. We talked about some of their pricing struggles and things of that nature, but nonetheless, they still do have a muscle car for the consumers here. Now, not much has been said lately about the Chevrolet Camaro. You know, a lot of the things that's going on with Chevy lately has been geared towards the Corvette, and Chevy pretty much cut the Camaro but kept the Corvette going. It's been doing a lot of different things with the Corvette as far as different engines and things of that nature, pretty much just killing the game in that aspect. But we know the Corvette and the Camaro market aren't one and the same. We know the Corvette has its own particular market, more of the sports car type crowd, things of that nature, while the Camaro satisfied a different market, those that wanted some sort of like a muscle car, things like that. I don't consider the Corvette a muscle car. I think a lot of you guys don't as well. Now, just because we haven't heard a lot about the Camaro doesn't mean there's things going on behind the scenes as regarding the Camaro's return. So within GM and Chevy, there is an internal team that they have put together that is tasked with the assignment to create a business case to bring back the Camaro. And of course, this will be the next gen Camaro. I think will be the Gen 7 Camaro, if I'm not mistaken. I think they left off with the Gen 6 there, so my apologies if I got that wrong. So how has those negotiations gone to bring back the Camaro for the next generation? So recent reports have indicated that General Motors has halted bringing back the Camaro. And the main reason for them to do this is because pretty much upper management couldn't really justify why to bring it back. So in short, they pretty much just discontinued the project. The Camaro's future does remain uncertain with no clear plans of it moving forward, but the door isn't all the way closed on that chapter just yet. So even though the Camaro was pretty popular when it was out, why aren't Chevy and GM bringing this car back? I mean, there seems to be a pretty good market, a pretty good niche for this car, but why aren't they bringing this back? Now, there are several reasons why they aren't bringing this back, but if they choose to bring it back, they got to overcome these few things here. So one of the main reasons why this car is not coming back is due to the declining sales of this particular car when you compare it to its competition. Let me show y'all this quick graphic that shows you how bad the Camaro has fallen off since it came back to production. All right, y'all, so this is what we got on the screen right here. I want to show you this graphic because it'll kind of show you how bad this Camaro just kind of fell off, right? So what we got right here, now this is from 2005 all the way up to 2021. Yes, I know this graph does not include anything, 2022, 23, 24 on the graph, but this does paint a pretty good picture as to what's going on with Camaro sales before it went out of production here. So what you got here, you got a comparison of the Chevrolet Camaro, the Ford Mustang, and the Dodge Challenger. So pretty much these are the main competitors in the United States. These are only United States sales, and you can kind of see how the Camaro has fared against the competition here over the years. So starting off in 2005 all the way up to about 2008 here. So pretty much the Ford Mustang had no competition during this time frame, right? No Challenger, no Camaro, anything like that, except let's say about 2008 here when the Challenger first came back here. But of course, it couldn't touch the Ford Mustang in sales. You see, Ford is just straight killing it in sales all those years. Now, 2009, that is when the Chevrolet Camaro returned here. If I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong. I think this is around about the time that Transformer movie came out as well, because, Chevy partnered, GM, I should say, partnered heavily with that movie to have those cars in the movie. And of course, Bumblebee was a Camaro. You saw that movie, you probably wanted a Camaro, right? So you can see 2009 it came back, right? And the sales immediately jumped up there and rivaled the Mustang. Then the Mustang was already on decline in sales. They had a huge market share there, and Camaro comes right in and is neck and neck with the Mustang from the get-go. Then we go to 2010. Again, you see the Camaro increases in sales. The Mustang increases its sales from 2009 to 2010, but not as much as the Camaro. Of course, the Challenger down here, they increased the sales as well, but they're still way back in third here. We jump to 2011. Camaro again is on top. Mustang have a dip in sales. The Challenger kind of just stays, kind of the same in 2011. Now we go to 2012. Challenger, slight increase there. Both the Camaro and the Mustang are neck and neck in sales here again. 2013, both the Camaro and Mustang see a dip in sales. Camaro still is outselling the Mustang at this time. Challenger has an increase in sales, but they're still back in the distant third. They're not a player in the game just yet, right? 2014, this is where some of the changes start happening. Well, one of the last years, right? Again, we have an increase in sales for the Camaro, an increase in sales for the Mustang. Challenger stayed roughly about the same, but still in the distant third. So the Mustang and Camaro right now are running neck and neck when it comes to sales. And now 2015, the Mustang increases in sales a good bit. We're talking what? I'm thinking that's 80,000 units all the way to 120,000 units. So we're talking 40,000 unit increase. That's a huge increase. You can see how far they're taking off. Camaro experiences a dip in sales right there. Challenger, new redesign for the Challenger here. Pretty big increase in sales. Now, nowhere close to what the Mustang is seeing right now, but pretty big increase in sales nonetheless. Mustang has a decline in sales. I mean, it's the same car from 2015, so it wasn't a lot of changes there if I recall. So they have a decline in sales there. Camaro also have a slight decline in sales. Challenger stays pretty much the same there, right? Of course, relatively the same car from 2015 to 2016. 2017, again, Mustang, another decline in sales. Camaro, another dip in sales. Now, this is where the competition gets a little close. Now, for the first time, we're looking at the Challenger finally getting close enough to the Camaro and about to overtake the Camaro for the top two spots when it comes to these American muscle cars. Now we go to 2018. Camaro has another decrease in sales, while the Challenger has a slight increase here, staying relatively consistent throughout the years, and the Mustang dropped a little bit. So now the Challenger finally has taken the second spot, and the Camaro has fallen off. Now we go to 2019. Camaro stays relatively the same there. Challenger falls off a bit. The Mustang falls off a bit. Go to 2020. This is kind of COVID year, so a lot of things get impacted here. Chevy gets impacted the worst during this year. They fall completely off to a distant third now. Challenger stays relatively consistent. They have a drop in sales, not too bad during that year, but they still fell off some. And also the Mustang fell off a little bit. And then we end off in 2021 where this graphic ends, where we can see Camaro has another dip in sales. The Challenger increases in sales and now is ahead of the Mustang in sales here. So from this graphic, you can see Camaro had a pretty good run from 2009 all the way to about 2014, where they were neck and neck with the Mustang. And ever since 2014, they just fell off the cliff. They could not compete with anything. Mustang, they killed it for 2015 with their huge increase in sales then. Why did the Camaro fall off so bad? They was really competing with the Mustang year after year after year, and then they just fell off a cliff. Now, one thing that does come to mind, I know the design of the Camaro, when it first came out, it was more of a retro design. It had the new muscle car look, but it gave a nod back to the older Camaros, which a lot of people liked, right? Over the years, they did try to improve on that design, which unfortunately they fell short. I know there was, if I recall correctly, a pretty bit controversy with some of the newer Camaro front ends. People hated the front ends of the newer Camaros. I understand a lot of times when it comes to these manufacturers, they like to have certain design elements in all the cars, where there's something like, if you know, this is for Chevy, it's going to have a certain thing on the front of these cars, or something that all these cars share. I think that's what Chevy was going with, and they did that with the Camaro, and people hated it. People did not like the look of the Camaro when they did that new front end, and that hurt sales a good bit. Another thing that will hurt sales for this Camaro, if you know the Camaro, it's a small car. It is a really, really small car. Now, I understand that all these cars are two-door cars. Some two-door cars are much more usable than others. Now, I had a Challenger before, and the Challenger for a two-door car is, yes, it's a big car, but it's spacious. It's a heavy car, but you have trunk space you can use. You have a back seat that is somewhat usable. You can actually put a car seat back there. I've done that for years. But when it came to the Camaro, that's something that you really can't do, right? You really can't use the trunk space for much. I've worked on the Camaro before when I worked in one of my previous jobs, and it was a pain to work on because there was hardly any space on the inside of that car whatsoever, in the back seats, in the trunk area, and things of that nature. So if you have a Camaro, you more than likely need another car to have something practical, or you're just someone that lives by yourself and don't really need all the space to begin with. And that would go to every single trim of that car, whether it's the, I think they had like the V6 or the 4-cylinder, stuff like that. That car's not going to be practical for any trim. So that's going to steer some people away, and people complain about the visibility and all that type of stuff as well with that car, which it does have some visibility problems, but it is a two-door car. But compared to other cars, it was a little bit worse on visibility. One of the main factors for the fall off in sales is going to be the economy, right? I mean, we know year after year after year, the economy getting worse and worse and worse. People aren't going to buy, sports cars or cars that are not practical and have multiple cars and things like that. People may be downsizing. If the car is something they're not going to drive all the time or use all the time, it's no use for them to have this car just, sitting in the yard, taking up space and making payments or making insurance payments or stuff on a car that you're not going to use or can't use on a day-to-day basis here. So that played another factor as well with the decline of that car. Now, we did see a lot of the other manufacturers have declined in sales, but Camaro definitely felt it the worst. And another reason here that, Chevy's not going to be too eager to jump out there and come out with a new Camaro is because of the fact that they're going to have to develop something new here, especially with the sales on the decline, or have been declining with the Camaro before it went out of production in 2024, I think was the last year. They did do a limited run of Camaros in 2024. They're not going to be really eager to jump out there and put all this money aside for R&D for a new 7th gen Camaro, right? Where they're going to have to come up with a new look for it, come up with a possibly new chassis or something like that for it, come off the engine for it, do all the tests for it and things like that for a car that really hasn't sold well in the last few years it was out. It is really a niche car. Now, the car is a great performing car, don't get me wrong. It does well on the drag strip, it does well on the track when you get this, the certain models as far as the like the 1LE models and things like that. It does well on the track and whatnot. It's not a practical car. The sales aren't there, and that's a lot of money to put aside to bring back a car that people really, I'm not gonna say didn't really appreciate, but they didn't go out in ways to go buy this car. Along with the high development costs they will run into, is part of that would be the platform. A lot of times these manufacturers like to use the same platforms for multiple cars, so that way it cuts down on what they have to develop. Of course, the platform or the chassis may be the same, but as far as the body and other things with the car may be different to differentiate the different cars. Like, for example, if we talk about GM, the Tahoe, the Denali, is that right? The SUV, that, and the Cadillac, they all are the same platform. Like, it literally is the exact same platform. The only difference is the actual body of the car. That's really the only difference, right? And right now, if you look at GM, they really don't have a chassis for the Camaro. I think the CT4 and the CT5 are the closest what they have, but those are like aging platforms, so they're gonna have to come out with a new platform there, which costs a lot of money to come out with a platform just for one car, and they can't share it across any other cars at the moment. So there's nothing they could repurpose to make a new Camaro, which then leads to them having to come out with a new platform, which then leads to them having to spend more money for this particular car. Now, unless they're planning on doing some kind of redesign for maybe one of the Cadillac cars or something of that nature, that's really where all their rear wheel drive cars is going to be on the Cadillac side of things, unless they're going to take one of those platforms and repurpose it or come up with something new that can maybe use between both of those brands. Then that could be their next move. They don't have a lot of options, and coming out with a new platform is extremely costly. And also, let's be honest here, I mean, Chevy's in the business for making money, as a lot of business are. They want to make a profit on everything. Right now, I mean, where Chevy is making their money is going to be on their trucks and SUVs and things of that nature. Like I said, going back to the sales of the Camaro over the last few years, it doesn't seem like something they would try to go back and do, especially with the new development costs they would have to do with this car, for a car that's, like I said, very niche. It's only made for a certain demographic of people and things like that, right? They don't really need a car, another sports car. They already have the Corvette, right? They have the Corvette. Granted, some of the newer models are going to be, 6-digit cars, 6-figure cars or whatever. They still got lower trims, which can get people into a Corvette for not the crazy amount of prices here. So Chevy isn't pressed to bring back the Camaro. They have things already that can, satisfy that need for the people if they want to get something that's like a performance car or what have you. So in short, honestly, Chevy has to be in a really good spot to bring this Camaro back. They're not going to be too quick to jump out there and do so. The sales aren't looking right. The cost isn't looking right. They got other cars that can fill that need for them. They don't really need to bring this car back. I know it sucks for those of you out there that like the Camaro, but if they do bring the car back, I don't see it being brought back long term at all. Maybe for a few years, but then again, it doesn't make sense for them to dump all this money into the car as far as research and development to only bring the car back for a few years. So with that being said, the door isn't closed for the Camaro coming back, but it's almost shut. You know what I'm saying? So it just doesn't look like the right thing to do just based on those factors. I mean, you guys saw the sales. The sales is the biggest thing. If that car was selling like the Challenger was selling, if that car was selling like the Mustang was selling, it makes sense for them to take that money and put it out there to come out with a new Camaro. But the sales for the car just fell off a cliff, and they can't get the design right. They probably lost a lot of their customer base for the Camaro because of that. And they got the Corvette. I mean, the Corvette is going to do what it's going to do, right? The people are leaning towards that Corvette heavy. They're putting all their research and development as far as when it comes to performance cars towards the Corvette. They don't want to have to split that budget of performance vehicles with the Corvette and with the Camaro. They want to go all in with the Corvette. And from what you guys are seeing that this Corvette is doing, straight up insane. straight up insane. So Chevy is not hurting to bring back the Camaro. I know it sucks for some people that like the Camaro, but they're not hurting. They're not hurting to bring that Camaro back at all whatsoever. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Of course, for some muscle car wars and things like that, it'd be cool for them to bring it back. Yeah, I don't see it being a good move for Chevy to bring this car back at all. But we'll see what happens here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you made it this far in the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, man. We do a lot of car related things on this channel. We talk cars, we work on cars, we do a lot of car stuff on here. So make sure y'all tune in and be a part of all that we got going on. We'll catch you on the next video. We are out. Cut it.